Duggar family's most unlucky day, the day Josie was gone forever. Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. For Duggar family latest news update, please subscribe the channel and press the bell icon. It was supposed to be a peaceful Sunday morning in Springdale, Arkansas. The birds were chirping, the sun was softly glowing through the white curtains, and the Duggar home, known for its laughter, love, and chaos, was unusually quiet. But that calm would soon break into a storm of grief that would change the Duggar family forever. A morning like no other, Michelle Duggar woke up early, as she always did. She made coffee for Jim Bob and started preparing breakfast for whoever was awake. With 19 children, the kitchen had always been alive with noise, smells, and chatter. But today, she felt a strange stillness. She looked around. No sounds of footsteps upstairs. No giggling from the younger kids. Even the usual hum of conversation was gone. Something was off. She walked down the hall to check on Josie, her youngest daughter. Josie, the miracle baby who had been born premature back in 2009, had always been fragile yet fierce, a fighter from the very start. Despite her early health scares, Josie had grown into a bright, funny, and determined young woman of 15. But as Michelle reached Josie's room, she noticed the door slightly open. The morning light fell across the floor, illuminating her daughter's bed. Josie was lying there, stilled, at first. Michelle thought she was sleeping. But when she called her name, Josie didn't move. Michelle stepped closer, heart pounding, and touched her hand. Cold, her scream shattered the silence. The family rushes and Jim Bob ran from the kitchen. The older kids came running down the stairs, and chaos filled the house. Jill, Jana, Jinger, and Joy tried to calm their mother while John David called 911. "Please hurry," he said, voice trembling. "It's my sister. She's not breathing." Within minutes, paramedics arrived. The Duggar children huddled together in the living room, praying, crying, whispering Josie's name over and over. Michelle sat on the floor outside Josie's room, frozen. Jim Bob held her hand tightly, but looked pale and broken. Despite the paramedics' best efforts, CPR, oxygen, defibrillation, there was no response. After what felt like an eternity, one of them looked up with soft, sorrowful eyes and shook his head. Time stopped. Michelle let out a wail that echoed through the walls. The sound of a mother's heartbreak filled the air. Josie Duggar was gone. Shockwaves through the Duggar house. News spread quickly. Within hours, the entire Duggar family, married children, grandchildren, even in-laws, gathered at the house. The once joyful family home became a place of mourning. Jessa sat in the corner, holding her baby and weeping silently. "She was just with us last week," she whispered. "We laughed about her wanting to start a YouTube channel." Joy hugged her tightly, tears streaming down her face. "I can't believe this. She was the strongest of all of us. She survived being born at 1 pound. How could this happen?" Now outside, TV crews and reporters began gathering. The Duggars had lived under the public eye for years, first through 19 kids and counting, and later through Counting On. But this tragedy wasn't a storyline. It was real. Too real. Jim Bob addressed the cameras only once, voice cracking. "Our sweet Josie went to be with Jesus this morning. Please keep our family in your prayers." The flashbacks began. That night, Michelle couldn't sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Josie's smiling face, the sparkle in her eyes, the way she hugged everyone before bedtime, the way she'd whisper, "I love you, Mom," before falling asleep. She remembered the day Josie was born. A tiny baby fighting for her life in a NICU incubator. The doctors said she might not make it, but Josie did. She beat the odds. She grew up strong, funny, and full of hope. She loved music, drawing, and baking with her sisters. She dreamed of becoming a nurse, just like the women who once helped her survive. Now that dream would never come true. The investigation. The next day, the medical examiner arrived. Though it seemed like a peaceful passing, the family needed answers. Was it a heart issue? A complication from her premature birth? Something they had missed? The report would later reveal that Josie had suffered a sudden cardiac arrest, likely related to an undiagnosed heart rhythm disorder, a silent killer that had gone unnoticed, and no one could have seen it coming. But that didn't make the pain any easier. Grief turns to silence. The Duggar home grew unbearably quiet in the days that followed. The sound of children playing, the laughter in the hallways, all gone. Every corner reminded them of Josie. Her art still hung on the wall. Her school books were open on the desk. Her shoes sat by the stairs where she left them. Jana tried to keep the house organized, but she'd often stop mid-task and break down crying. Everything reminds me of her, she confessed to Jinger over the phone. Even the smell of her shampoo. Jinger, now living in California, flew home immediately. "We always thought she'd outlive all of us," she said quietly. "She was our miracle baby." Remembering Josie a week later, the family held a private memorial at their local church. Hundreds came, friends, neighbors, even old TLC crew members who had filmed her childhood. The stage was decorated with Josie's favorite colors, lavender and white. Photos of her smiling, laughing, and baking with her siblings played on a screen behind the pulpit. Michelle stood at the microphone, trembling. Josie came into our lives as a tiny 1-pound miracle. God lent her to us for 15 beautiful years. Though our hearts are broken, we trust that He had a greater plan for her. Then, Josie's best friend, Johanna, read a poem she had written. "Your laughter still echoes, your smile still shines. You left too soon, sweet sister of mine, but in our hearts, you're forever alive." The miracle who taught us how to survive. The church was silent except for the sound of sniffles and sobbing. Outside, the Arkansas sky turned gray, as if the heavens themselves mourned her loss. A family divided by grief after the funeral. Tension began to grow within the family. Some of the older siblings blamed Jim Bob and Michelle for pushing Josie too hard. Others blamed the media, saying the pressure of being in the public eye caused stress that affected her health. Jessa and Jill, already distant from their parents due to past controversies, clashed over how the situation was being handled. "She deserved privacy," Jill said bitterly. "We shouldn't let the world turn her death into another headline." Jim Bob tried to hold the family together, but the emotional cracks deepened. For the first time, even faith didn't seem enough to keep everyone united. The media storm. Within days, major news outlets picked up the story. Josie Duggar, the miracle baby, dies suddenly at 15. Reporters camped outside the family home. Speculation ran wild on social media. Some offered heartfelt condolences. Others cruelly accused the Duggars of neglect or religious extremism. Michelle refused to read any of it. "The world will say what it wants," she said softly to Jim Bob one night. "But we know the truth. Josie was loved." Still, the media attention was relentless. The family canceled all public appearances, shut down their social media, and withdrew from the world. Life without Josie weeks turned into months, but the emptiness remained. At dinner, there was one chair that no one dared sit in. Her room stayed exactly as she left it. Untouched, frozen in time, sometimes, Michelle would sit on Josie's bed late at night, running her fingers through the blanket, whispering prayers. "Lord, give me strength," she'd say. "Help me believe there's a reason for this pain." Meanwhile, the siblings tried to move forward. Jinger returned to California, but kept a photo of Josie on her nightstand. Jana spent her days gardening, something Josie loved doing with her. Joy took over Josie's favorite baking projects with the younger kids, turning her grief into something meaningful. But no one really healed. Not yet. A letter from Josie. 3 months after her passing, Jana found something in Josie's journal, a letter addressed to Mom and Dad. It read, "If anything ever happens to me, please don't cry too much. I've had the best family anyone could ask for. I know you've always worried about me, but I'm okay. I believe that heaven is real, and that one day we'll all be together again. Please tell everyone to smile for me, because I'll be watching from up there." Michelle read the letter aloud at the dinner table. Every word broke their hearts, and yet, somehow, it also healed them. Josie's words brought a sense of peace they hadn't felt in months, finding light in the darkness. By spring, the Duggars decided to do something special in Josie's memory. They started the Josie Duggar Foundation, dedicated to helping families of premature babies with medical expenses and emotional support. At the foundation's first event, Jim Bob spoke emotionally. When Josie was born, people around the world prayed for her. Now, we want to give that same hope to others. The foundation became a symbol of healing, a way for the family to transform grief into purpose. Slowly, smiles returned to their faces. The laughter began to echo again through the halls of the house, though quieter, softer, and touched with a hint of sadness, a visit to the grave. On the one-year anniversary of her passing, the family gathered at Josie's grave. The stone read, Josie Brooklyn Duggar, 2009 to 2024. Our miracle girl, forever loved, never forgotten. Michelle knelt beside it, placing fresh lavender flowers the same color Josie loved. I still talk to you every night, she whispered. And I still feel you with us. Beside her, Jim Bob put his arm around her shoulders. She's home now, he said quietly. And one day, we'll see her again, healing and hope. In time, the Duggars learned to live with their loss. They still missed Josie deeply, but her memory became a guiding light. The younger kids often spoke about her as if she were still part of daily life. Josie would love this, they'd say, when baking or decorating. And maybe in some way, she was still there watching over them, smiling that same mischievous smile that had once brightened every room. Even fans around the world continued to send letters, artwork, and prayers. The foundation grew, helping dozens of families every month. Michelle often said it was Josie's spirit that kept it all alive, the legacy of a miracle. Though her life was short, Josie Duggar's story touched millions. She was born too soon, fought harder than most adults ever will, and left behind a legacy of faith, resilience, and love. Her family, once shattered by tragedy, found strength in her memory. In a later interview, Jinger said Josie's death was the hardest thing we've ever faced. But it reminded us that life is fragile and love is eternal. She may be gone, but her light will never fade. And Michelle, holding Josie's framed photo, added softly, God gave us Josie for 15 beautiful years. And those years were a gift. I thank him every day, even through the tears, the unlucky day that became a blessing. The day Josie passed away will forever be known as the Duggar family's most unlucky day, a day marked by sorrow, silence, and heartbreak. But in the years that followed, it also became a day of reflection, love, and faith. Because from that pain came something beautiful, a family closer than ever, a foundation saving lives, and a community reminded of the value of every single day. As the sun set over Arkansas that evening, a soft wind passed through the trees outside the Duggar home. The family gathered on the porch, holding hands, looking up at the sky glowing pink and gold. Look, Michelle whispered, pointing at a single bright star. That's Josie, she's shining for us. And for a brief moment, the world felt peaceful again. Jill Duggar's heartbreaking day, a Duggar family story. The morning sun barely peeked through the curtains of Jill Duggar's home in Arkansas. It was supposed to be one of the happiest days of her life. Jill and Derek Dillard had just welcomed their fourth child, a beautiful baby girl they named Grace Hope Dillard. The delivery had been difficult but successful. Jill smiled through exhaustion, her heart full as she looked at the tiny miracle in her arms. But sometimes, life doesn't warn you when it's about to break your heart. A moment of pure joy. The Duggar family house was filled with excitement. Messages poured in from all her siblings, Jessa, Joanna, Jana, and even Jinger from California. Can't wait to meet her, Jessa texted. She's perfect, Jill. You're so strong, added Joy. Derek was pacing around the living room, smiling wider than ever before. He had set up the baby crib, tiny clothes folded neatly, and little Grace's name embroidered on a soft pink blanket. Jill sat by the window, nursing her baby, whispering softly, "You're my miracle, my Grace." Everything seemed perfect, the calm, after years of struggle, after losing trust, fame, and peace due to the family's public controversies. This child, Jill believed, was a new beginning. The calm before the storm. By evening, Jill felt unusually tired. Maybe it's just the labor, she told herself. But there was something different. Her breathing felt heavy, her heart raced, and a dull pain spread through her chest. Derek noticed. "Babe, you okay? You look pale." "Did I'm fine," Jill forced a smile. "Just need rest." But as the night deepened, her pain grew worse. Baby Grace, once softly cooing in her arms, began to cry uncontrollably. Jill tried to soothe her, but her vision started to blur. The room spun. "Derek, something's wrong." Those were the last clear words before everything went dark. The hospital rush. Derek panicked. He called 911, his voice trembling. "My wife just gave birth 2 days ago." Unresponsive, the ambulance arrived within minutes. Jill was rushed to the nearest hospital in Fayetteville. Baby Grace, still crying, was taken along with her. Inside the ER, doctors moved quickly. Jill had developed severe postpartum hemorrhage, a complication that can strike suddenly after childbirth. Her blood pressure was dangerously low. Derek stood helplessly outside the emergency room, clutching the pink baby blanket in his hands. "Please, God, don't take her from me." Not Jill. Not Grace. Hours felt like years. A family in tears back at the Duggar family home. Michelle Duggar's phone rang in the early morning hours. Her heart sank as she heard Derek's voice on the other end. "Mom, Jill's in the hospital. It's bad." Within an hour, Jim, Bob, and Michelle were on the road. Jana stayed behind to watch the younger kids, while Jessa and Ben arrived with coffee and prayer books. At the hospital, the atmosphere was heavy. Doctors worked to stabilize Jill, but her body was fighting a losing battle. Derek sat in silence, staring at Grace's empty hospital bassinet. When the doctor came out, his face told the story before his words did. "She's stable for now, but we need to watch for internal complications." The unexpected turn by the second day, Jill regained consciousness. Her first question was, "Where's my baby?" Derek smiled through tears. "She's fine, sweetheart. She's in the nursery." But something about his tone was off, a nervous tremor, a hesitation. When Jill was finally allowed to see Grace, she noticed the nurses whispering. The baby was quiet, too quiet. Her skin was pale, her breathing shallow. "Why isn't she moving much?" Jill asked, her voice trembling. The nurse looked down. "We're doing everything we can, Mrs. Dillard." Jill felt the world collapse around her. The final goodbye. Later that night, a doctor entered Jill's room. Derek stood beside her, holding her hand tightly. "Mrs. Dillard, I'm so sorry. Your daughter's heart stopped just a few minutes ago. We tried to resuscitate her," but the rest of the sentence blurred into silence. Jill's scream echoed through the corridor, raw, broken, and full of unimaginable pain. Derek held her tightly as tears streamed down both their faces. The pink blanket that once symbolized joy now became a reminder of unbearable loss. Baby Grace was gone. Silence in the house after returning home from the hospital. Everything felt hollow. The nursery door stayed shut. The toys, the clothes, the crib untouched. Jill couldn't bear to look inside. Derek tried to stay strong, cooking meals, cleaning, praying beside her. But every night, he heard her whispering through tears, "Why her, God? Why now?" The Duggar family visited one by one, each bringing food, flowers, and prayers. Michelle hugged Jill and said softly, "God's ways are mysterious, sweetheart. But he's still good." Jill nodded, but inside, she felt nothing but silence. Faith, once her anchor, now felt like a distant echo. A rift reopened as weeks passed. Pain turned into confusion, and confusion into anger. The media got hold of the story. Headlines spread. Tragedy hits the Duggars again. Jill Dillard suffers devastating loss. Some family followers online sent prayers. Others, cruelly, accused Jill of seeking attention. The comments were brutal. Derek deleted his social media for peace, but Jill saw enough to feel betrayed by the very world that once watched her grow up. Then came the hardest part. Her father, Jim Bob, tried to convince her to film a family statement for TLC. "People care about you, Jill. Sharing your testimony could help others," he said, but Jill's eyes turned cold. "No, Dad. This isn't about the show. This is my child." That conversation reignited old wounds between them. Jill and Derek left the house that day, deciding to keep their pain private. Faith in the darkness. Months passed. Jill's health slowly improved, but her heart remained shattered. She visited Grace's small grave every morning, leaving fresh flowers and whispering lullabies. One day, as she sat there under the oak tree, she felt a gentle breeze brush her cheek. For the first time in months, she closed her eyes and smiled faintly. Derek joined her, kneeling beside the grave. "I think she'd want us to keep living," Jill, he said quietly. Did I know, she whispered. But I'll never stop missing her. They prayed together, not with loud voices, but with quiet hearts. Healing begins. Life moved slowly, but it did move. Jill started journaling, writing letters to Grace, pages filled with love, pain, and hope. She even began helping at a local women's shelter, counseling mothers who had lost children. Derek, inspired by his wife's strength, started volunteering too. Together, they found small reasons to smile again. Jessa came to visit one afternoon with her kids. "You're stronger than you think, Jill," she said, hugging her tightly. "Grace's story is already changing lives." Jill smiled faintly. Maybe that's her purpose. A letter to Grace. 6 months later, Jill sat by the same window where she once held her baby girl. The same light poured in, soft and golden. She opened her journal and began writing one final letter. "My dearest Grace, I still feel your heartbeat in my soul. Every morning when the wind moves through the trees, I imagine you smiling down from heaven. That I don't understand why you had to go, but I trust that God needed an angel like you. Your brothers talk about you every day. They miss you too. I promise to keep your memory alive, not through sorrow, but through love. You taught me that even the smallest life can change the biggest hearts. Until we meet again, my sweet girl." Mom, as tears rolled down her cheeks, Derek walked in, placing his arm around her. "She'd be proud of you," he whispered. The family reunion. By the 1-year anniversary, the Duggar family gathered quietly at the small cemetery. There was no camera crew, no press, just family. Michelle led a prayer. "Lord, thank you for little Grace, for the love she gave in her short time. And thank you for healing Jill's heart." The family sang softly, the same lullaby Jill used to hum. "You are my sunshine, my only sunshine." Jill closed her eyes, letting the words sink deep. For the first time, she didn't feel pain, she felt peace. Moving forward years later, Jill and Derek decided to honor Grace's memory by starting a small foundation, the Grace Hope Project, to support mothers dealing with postpartum trauma and infant loss. Their story spread online, but this time not as tabloid gossip, as inspiration. Letters poured in from women around the world thanking Jill for giving them courage to heal. One comment read, "I lost my baby too, but Jill's story saved my life. Thank you for showing me that hope is real." That was the moment Jill realized Grace's short life had left a legacy that would last forever. Peace at last. One late evening, Jill sat on the porch, looking at the stars. Derek brought her a cup of tea, and their sons played in the yard. She whispered softly, "I feel her tonight." Derek nodded. "She's watching over us." The breeze carried a soft fragrance of blooming lilies, Grace's favorite flower from the garden Jill had planted for her. And in that gentle night air, Jill finally found peace. The pain didn't disappear. It simply transformed into love. A family's silent strength. The Duggar family, despite years of public judgment, scandals, and heartbreak, found a quiet unity in grief. They learned that pain could break, but it could also bind, and love, in its purest form, never dies. For Jill, every heartbeat of her remaining children reminded her of Grace. Every sunrise felt like a whisper. "I'm still here, Mommy." And though the world might remember the Duggars for their fame, Jill and Derek would always remember their little girl, not for the tragedy, but for the miracle she was.